Another day is here, and you're ready for it. What to wear? Check. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner? Check. Planning for what's next and how to save for it? That's where Bank of America can help. For your financial to-dos, Bank of America has experts ready to help get you closer to your goals. Get started at one of our local financial centers or 24/7 in our mobile banking app. Find a location near you at bankofamerica.com/talktous. What would you like the power to do? Mobile banking requires downloading the app and is only available for select devices. Message and data rates may apply. Bank of America N.A., member FDIC.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to a Media Matters special for Anfield Index. You all asked us, when was the transfer window going to kick off? And on Wednesday, the 7th of August, it has happened, ladies and gents, hasn't it? All the stories are broken. Liverpool are in for Real Sociedad midfielder Martin Zubimendi. And we need expert insight, don't we? So, who did I get? I got someone that has become famous for his tour diary in the US, but he's back in the UK, and we managed to get him before he takes the missus shopping. So I'm absolutely delighted to be able to welcome from the Daily Mail, I'm sure you know the name by now, Lewis Steele. Lewis, how are we today?
All good. The jet lag's still affecting me slightly. I think it was yesterday I was just watching the Olympics on the sofa, and before I knew it, I'd been asleep for an hour without authorising a nap. So jet lag's still going, but working hard, getting this Zubimendi story over the line, and it's all kicking off in the transfer market now, which is good fun.
Yeah, absolutely, which is probably the key line, isn't it? Getting it over the line. And we've got 1,000 questions to ask you from our various subscribers, etc. We'll leave the ones about the HD bananas because it's about transfers today. I suppose the biggest one coming up is, because there's a few key details that sort of coming out about release clauses, is the player interested. I think sort of asking you about what is the latest, but the key thing is this isn't a done deal yet either, is it? This is still in transit.
No, yeah, it's definitely not a done deal. And, you know, I've been watching a bit of the Olympics, as I said, and there's definitely a few more hurdles to jump over to get on that home straight for the deal. Now, the interest is definitely there, that's 100%, but it's definitely not 100% that the deal happens. Now, the main thing in that is that Martin Zubimendi is a boyhood Real Sociedad fan. Just got them into the Champions League, I think, so it's not a definite that he would want to leave, but Liverpool are going to go on the charm offensive. Well, I say they're going to. I'm sure they already have been on the charm offensive, and you know, there's a fair way to go in the deal, but it's certainly not saying it's not going to happen. Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards will be working very hard to tempt him. As I mentioned in my article, he's got an agent who's very well connected with Richard. Yeah. So that stems from the Andoni Iraola going to Bournemouth last year. Same agent did that deal when Hughes was at Bournemouth. So I'm sure they've got a very good relationship, and that can only work in Liverpool's favour here. But the decision lies probably with the player. Does he want to move?
Yeah.
you know, I put myself into his shoes as a 25-year-old, and if Liverpool came knocking for me, I would probably go. So hopefully that gives the fans a little bit of confidence it can happen. But we'll just have to see what the next few days hold on that.
Yeah, it's an interesting one because like you said, he's had a brilliant Euros. He comes on for Rodri in the final and obviously picks up a winner's medal. There is pedigree there, as you mentioned in your article as well, Champions League. It ticks a lot of the boxes. I suppose the biggest fear against it, Lewis, just now is almost this little bit of feeling like Caicedo almost last summer where, yeah, we start the thing, but does the player actually want to go? Because I know that's a line in your article, a lot of others. Is that the biggest sort of hurdle you'd say right now in the whole thing? And also, is there a risk? Because this is, you mentioned him, Richard Hughes' potential first deal. It doesn't look great if it now doesn't happen at the same time.
Well, what I would say on Hughes is I don't think Liverpool were overly keen on this news to come out. You know, I think they were trying to keep it in just because I'm not saying that would have jeopardised the deal in any way, but maybe hinting on what you just said with Hughes, does he want to go all out for someone and then miss out? It wouldn't look great on his rep in his first season, but then if it has come out now, which it has, I think it may be a bit more advanced, and we think these deals often tend to be, you know, when people are writing clubs are keen on someone, it normally means they're very, very keen on them. So because the club have denied quite a lot of stories this season saying, no, that's not true, when certain journalists have, you know, written stories linking Liverpool to various players, they've not said that one with this one. So the interest is definitely there. It's just a case of whether they can convince him to come. But realistically, I think that they will be able to. But that's just my guess based on what I would do if I was Martin Zubimendi.
Yeah, indeed. Even suggestions that it'll be a sort of double your money and more deal. So there's a lot of things we're hoping there for. And I know there's a mention of the release clause. I suppose, is it difficult for Liverpool? Because in negotiations, Sociedad can always go, no, the release clause is the release clause, pay it type of thing. And now that it's out there, do you think there's even a risk the club might be thinking other clubs will know about this and maybe trying to sneak in and just pay that and sort of trump us? Is that a risk? This will have to move quickly with that now.
Yeah, well, first of all, I don't think the fact that the release clause info is out there will sort of get other clubs talking, because realistically, if you are a top club, you should know about these things anyway.
Yeah.
They're doing their due diligence. I know Arsenal are keen as well, or they were at some point. I think I saw one of the Arsenal fan accounts saying, you know, that we've been in for this guy for 3 seasons and they've just sort of come in the back door and licked him. But it might get other clubs talking. But realistically, Liverpool will be hoping that they've stolen a march on him and, you know, got in his ear. Obviously, he comes from the same place as Xabi Alonso, or same sort of, anyway. Same agency as Xabi Alonso, so that it's not beyond the realms of possibility that he puts a word in his ear. I'm not saying that is going to happen, but also, like, you know, there's and Thiago as well, obviously a Spanish midfielder who loved his time at Liverpool. So he'll look at them and sort of think, you know, I could follow in their footsteps. He's only 25. Realistically, he's not going to be, you know, winning any top prizes, individual prizes at Real Sociedad. So he's got to be thinking, I've got this big move in the palm of my hands now. I've got to take the risk. Not sure what he's like as a person, whether he's, you know, would he want to move to England? You know, a few players have complained about the climate in England after playing. You look at Julian Alvarez, who's going from City to Atletico. One of the main reasons, I'm sure, is that he's not settled in the northwest of England. But we're not sure whether that is the case. And realistically, I do think that he will end up deciding that he wants to move. As you mentioned, the release clause, Liverpool might have tried to lowball it a little bit, but 60 million euros in this day and age for me is not a massive sum.
True.
You know, you look at some of the deals that have happened already this summer. If you want a good player, you've got to pay over 50 mil these days. And Liverpool know that. They've got the money. We know that from when they bid for Caicedo about a year ago. Yeah. So it's not like they're struggling for money, but like for a player of that caliber, 60 million euros is not, you know, breaking the bank too much.
Not at all, especially when we see, like you mentioned there, Caicedo was 115, Declan Rice was about 105. So the supply and demand market is that nature for Sixers at the moment. And I suppose he's going to have a knock on at the club a little bit as well. And probably the two that I'm guessing there's going to be massive, and there's no other way of phrasing it for me, massive question marks against now are Tyler Morton and Endo. Do you think this is a bit of a death knell for their futures potentially?
I wouldn't go as far as saying it's like a bit of a death, but it's certainly, I would say that it certainly spells the end for Tyler Morton, probably, sadly. Good player, still very young, but maybe there's just not room for him in this squad, and Liverpool want 20 mil for him, so it sort of just frees up a bit of budget if they do. And as I've said a few times, there's a long list of clubs that are interested, so I don't think Liverpool will have any issue in selling him if they decide to. As for Endo, he was brought in as a bit of a stopgap, which, whenever I say that, I do feel a bit harsh on Endo, because I don't think he was as bad as people make out last season. I think he did put in some solid performances. If I was Liverpool, I wouldn't be too against keeping Endo around for another year if Zubimendi comes through the door, just because a lot of the midfielders in there are younger. Endo has that experience on his head. He's young. He's not like he's, you know, it's not like he's earning 300 grand a week. So if one of them got injured, then Endo can still do a job, or he can, you know, if Liverpool are winning 1-0 in a big game, he can come on and shore up a little bit more. Looking at those pre-season friendlies, he's not really fancied. I mean, Gravenberch came into the tour, did 2 or 3 days of training, was already ahead of Endo. That United game. And for me, that sort of spelled that Slot is not overly keen on Endo. We know that Marseille bid about a few weeks ago. That was turned down. But if Zubimendi was through the door, then they might have had a different approach to that. But we'll see what happens in the next 2 weeks with Endo. I'm not 100% sure that he will go or not.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with Multiview, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be.
Yeah, it might be one to watch right up until the deadline. And I suppose planning for success, if Zubimendi does come through the door, I mean, as you mentioned there, he's got an epic CV. The one thing people are suggesting that in terms of, is there anything that you're looking at as a downside, that he's not maybe the quickest and most mobile. He is very good in the air by all accounts, it seems, but quickness and mobility, which maybe for a few put a question mark about if it was going to be assumed to be Alexis there. Is that a question about how mobile that is as a duo? And as you said, we've seen Curtis used there, we've seen Grab used there as well. How would you see it? Because, I mean, we've got to assume if he's coming in for this money as well, it's not to be a backup. Slot wants a specialist 6. Do you think it would be McAllister alongside him? Would that cause any risks? Or do you think there could be other options?
I think that if he did come in and once he's up to speed with the system and stuff, I think that the main ones would be him and McAllister. Just based on how good McAllister was last season. But, Jones didn't really do that much wrong in pre-season, well, a few times I thought, but he looked good in that role. And Gravenberch looked really good as well. I'm expecting him to have a much better season this year than he did in his first one last year. Maybe he is a bit slow. I mean, I can't claim to have watched every Real Sociedad game last season, so I'm not an expert by any means in how good he is. But I would point you to Rodri, who's obviously, I think it's fair to say, the best defensive midfielder in the Premier League, the world probably. I think that's fair to say. And I wouldn't really say Rodri's going to be winning any sprint races, but he's just, what Rodri does have and what we're told Zubimendi has is a really good footballing brain of knowing where to be at the right time. So I think that for me, when you look at the market of players available, I think Zubimendi's near the top of the list, if not top of the list. And I think this is a good signing for Liverpool if they can pull it off.
Yeah, and if it is him and McAllister, it's two brilliant footballers, it seems, in that double pivot. It really is as well. And I suppose there's a couple more I want to ask around transfers. And you've written about this, I know, as well, and it seems to have been this sort of consecutive patch briefing that the squad's bloated. There's a lot of, Slot's done his assessment, so it'll probably be outgoings and then incomings. This is probably just out the door a little bit, isn't it? Because Liverpool probably need to move quite... Do you think Liverpool need to move quite quickly with this, as in, it might just be a case of get Zubimendi done, that's the plan, and then the outgoings will just ratchet up from there?
Yeah, well, it's not like they've got no money, so it's not like they have to sell to buy. But I think once they do buy him, they would need to sell at least one or two, just in terms of how bloated the squad is. You look at that midfield. There's just so many players in there, and even on the wings, you've got Carvalho. Yeah, there's question marks over about 4 or 5 fringe players for me, whether they stay or go. And realistically, I think a few of them will go through the door. Like Sepp van den Berg had a good pre-season, but I can't really see him sticking around unless Joe Gomez forces an exit, which I don't think he will do at all. And Tyler Morton, as we've mentioned before, I think he'll probably end up going. And, Carvalho, realistically, will he get the minutes this season that he wants? I'm not 100% sure he will, especially with Luis Diaz and Cody Gakpo coming back. And there's other players in that position as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of those left. And then there's quite a few loans that might happen. So I think they will have to trim the squad between now and the end of the market, but there's not actually that long left. I mean, what date is it today? The 7th. So they're going to have to. Really, there's only 3 weeks or 3 or 4 weeks of the transfer window to go. So they're going to have to get cracking on these things. But I think, as we've said all through the tour, this week was the one that they'd earmarked for it really ramping up. Once I'd had a look at his squad, he knows what he wants now. He knows what he doesn't want. So I think these moves will happen quite quickly in the next 10 days.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because there's not, like you said, there's really not long to go. And I know you mentioned other players. I know you had the Carvalho exclusive that Leicester were in as well, despite what other reporters may have been saying in that regard as well. So we'll see if anything develops. I mean, we're probably being super greedy as I ask this question. So final one on transfers. Zubimendi is obviously that, and it's been clear that it's Liverpool's priority signing. That's the briefing. You're probably not surprised by this. Everyone's asking me to ask you, what about a left back? What about a centre back? What about any Anthony Gordon news? Is there any other sort of developments you're hearing on incomings, or is it more of you think this is just their full focus on this right now?
Well, overall, I'd say my analysis of the squad, and obviously that doesn't matter for anything, but mine is that the number 6 was a glaring need that they needed to improve this window. The other positions are more of a, if we can, we will improve it. I think that's more of a want than a need, if that makes sense. So I don't think they're going to be in any rush to sign anyone for the sake of it. I think Slot's been very open with the fact he wants quality over quantity. If for example, a young left back or a young centre back comes available, I think they'll go and do it. But I don't think they're going to be, a trolley dash to get 2 more over the line. I think there's a bit of talk about some young Argentinian left back the other day.
Yeah.
From what I'm hearing, that's not really one that's going to happen. It might happen, but I don't think it will. And then the keeper as well, which was a bit more of an opportunistic one. Not heard anything good or bad on that, so I can't say whether that is a definite no or yes. But as for Anthony Gordon, we know. I think it's obvious that he wants to move, but it now remains a case of, I think that he'd have to force a move if he wanted it, because Newcastle have sorted out their financial issues. So I'm not sure whether that one will, whether the clubs will return to the negotiating table on that or not, because Newcastle, as I say, have sorted out their financial issues. So realistically, I think he'd have to go to them and say, look, I'm sorry, but I want to leave. Maybe that one is one realistically for next summer, to be honest. But as I say, overall, the squad's in a healthy position, especially if they get a number through the door. So I don't think, I don't think if they don't sign anyone else that it's going to suddenly be, Liverpool have not got what they need this season, because they've addressed the main issue if they get a number 6, and then, they just be a bit more clinical in front of goal with a bit of coaching from Slot. That's the sort of thing that the club are looking at to sort of claw that gap back on City and Arsenal.
Yeah, will be interesting to see, and we're all fingers crossed on Zubimendi as well. And the final question, it's not about bananas, it's not about the US tour, but it's the same thing. Obviously, I know you probably enjoyed it, I'm guessing, doing the sort of the tour videos, the diaries, the Q&As. Is that going to be a theme post-match at Anfield? Are we going to get some of those going forward this season?
Depends how good the Anfield Wi-Fi is, I'll say, but I'll try. I probably will. I did enjoy doing them, but it was more just, past 10 minutes here and there on the tour. But they did go down quite well. So if people want them, maybe I'll start doing a video every Friday after the press conference or something, looking ahead to the game, rather than rushing it out after the game where I'm busy on 100 different other things as well. So that's what I'll say. Maybe I'll start doing one after the presses on a Friday.
We'll keep our eyes peeled, because we know there's copy deadlines for everything else, no doubt. So all it leaves me to say, I know we sort of caught you on the hop, so very kind to give up your time. So, Lewis, for the time, the insight, and answering all the questions, much appreciated, pal.
No worries at all. Thank you very much.
And ladies and gents, that was a Media Matters special for Anfield Index.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at anfieldindex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index, and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.